You are listening to the MS Power User Podcast. This is episode 30, recorded Thursday, January 12th, quite late in the day here in the US. Each week, we discuss the latest news about Microsoft, including Xbox, Surface, Windows Holographic, Mobile, and of course, Windows itself. My name is Vernon E.L. Smith, and I'm joined, as usual, by Andy Bennett. Hi, Andy.
Hey, how's it going?
I don't know if I like that new intro yet. I don't know. It can't be that bad. We'll see.
It'll grow on us.
I think it'll
hopefully
grow on us. Yeah. How's your winter going?
Well, currently it's 60 degrees and not winter at all, so I approve.
Wait, what? It's how warm is it there?
60 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh wow. Well, here it's 16. Wait, strike that. It's negative 16 Fahrenheit, which I think is about negative 25 or something Celsius, for the those of you not using the freedom units here in the US. It's chilly.
Oh dear.
So 60 it would be refreshing right now. 60 would be I don't know.
Just a correction. Apparently, it's gone down to 35 now, but for the rest of the entire day, it was 60 degrees, and that was fantastic, even if it was raining throughout the entire day. I can't complain.
That's incredible, actually. It's been quite a while since it's been 60 degrees here. So
I like to call this Ohio magic.
I'll give you that.
Yeah, one day it's below zero. The next day, all of a sudden, all the ice melts. You've got flood warnings everywhere. And then the next day, well, it all freezes up again. The roads are really fun then.
Yeah, all the expansion and contraction cannot be doing a lot of good for the roads.
And it doesn't help that I could use some certain words to describe how well the depending on the road, let's see, there's the city, the county, the state, and all of them do a pretty bad job at fixing roads. So, yeah. Sorry to any ODOT employees reading this, but, I think you guys could do, or not reading this, listening to this. Yeah, I guess neither of us can do our jobs.
All right, well, let's do our jobs and get into the news of the week.
Yeah, this has been a pretty big one because just hours ago, a second build this week has dropped.
And, of course, that indicates that there was a first build, which was basically the first build of the year, for Insider build we're talking about. We did break the 14,000 mark. We were into the 15,000s. So 1502 was the first Insider build, of course, Fast Ring. That was released, what day was it even? Tuesday or Monday or Tuesday?
I'm pretty sure, yeah, it was either Monday or Tuesday. I can't remember off the top of my head. But, yeah, pretty big start to the year as they have so much stuff merged in now and plenty of bugs that come along with it.
Lots of cool features, though. Very feature-packed. These are the fun ones. These are what we like to talk about. These are the things we want to play around with. And I think it's a great start to the year because it gets us, I would say, back into, I'll just say call it fast ring mode. I think it gets people in the mentality of jumping back into the fast ring and trying out these things and not just slogging along. Yep, some bugs, few features, blah, blah, blah. It's nice to ramp it up again a little bit.
Yeah. And the first build of the week, just kind of getting some of the changelogs here. This was build 15,002, which actually leaked earlier through a WIM file leaked. Maybe I should call it WIM. I don't know, but that leaked and
it was leaked on a whim.
That works. And the folks over at Inside Windows managed to turn that into an ISO. Or wait, I don't know if they turned that into an ISO or just released the WIM. Oh, man. It's been a couple of days, and I am still waiting for my coffee to kick in. But regardless, they managed, I believe it came out, it was an official Microsoft release that accidentally came out, and they snagged that and put it up. And shout out to Chris, because I know you're listening to this, and he and his team do a good job over there. But this is a big build. First one of the year, contains all that stuff we missed out on since the last one. And just there is a lot. There's some big changes to Microsoft Edge, the start menu, the share user interface. Just so much. And some of the features that we've been talking about through, it's been maybe 10 to 20 weeks since we've talked about some of these features, but they're coming in here now. And this is really cool. And I guess I'll talk about the first change on our list for build 15,002. That's that Microsoft Edge now shows tab previews of all sites, and it also has a set tabs aside feature. The browser also now includes jump list tasks, allowing users to open a new window or an incognito mode window easily. And now there's 3 new buttons in the tab bar for Edge now. You have buttons to set all of your tabs aside, which is essentially like if you know the watch later section on YouTube, where you get to push a button and say, I want to watch this later, I'll come back to it later, save my place. That's pretty much what set tabs aside is, except it's for your entire tab set right there. Although I actually think you can set individual tabs aside as well, where you just go, you know what, I'm tired for all this right now, just keep it for later. And this can be handy if you don't have Edge set up to pick up where you last left off, and you don't really want to. You just go, okay, I'm in the middle of something big. Say you have 5 different Wikipedia articles open, and you want to save all those, but you don't want to bookmark them, or you don't want to go digging through history. So you go, okay, save that for later, then you close Edge, go off to work, school, whatever. Then when you come back home, you open up the Saved for Later menu, and restore your tabs. So that is really handy. There's also a button to just show all the window previews at once, which, if you currently hover over tabs, you'll see a preview. Opera did something similar for a while. Don't know if they still do, but I think Edge really has the better usage of it. And this is something that makes it even better. As you just take a quick peek at everything, and you don't have to go looking at favicons or reading titles, which is especially helpful, like, say, some online stores you go to, or I go to, rather. They all have the same favicon, but some of them all have the same title for the page. They'll have, say, store name hyphen product, and sometimes you're not going to see the product name show up in that tab preview at all. So you can just quickly click that button, see all your tabs, and then jump right into a tab to go, oh yeah, that page is definitely the one I wanted to go to of the 2 or 3 or 5 or whatever from this site I have open. So you just jump in there. And that is a really handy thing, in my opinion. And as for jump list support, this is something that I think a lot of Universal apps should really start doing. I mean, I know the Xbox app has had jump list support for a while, and I think it's one of the best features for an app to have in Windows. Just have that nice jump list there to do quick tasks, be it from the tile or from the taskbar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I am kind of a tab junkie. I do open, I end up with a couple dozen tabs. If I'm working on something, I don't want to open a new window. I have separate windows as well, and it's good to be able to set tabs aside, or also the option to just reopen the whole session, but that usually is not good, and so that's why setting the tabs aside is better usually. And I just want to mention real quickly, it would not be incognito mode, it would be in private mode for Edge.
Whoopsie.
No problem. So another feature coming up here, or in 15,002, the start menu now supports app folders, just like Windows 10 Mobile, just like Windows, let's see, when was it? Windows Phone 7.5, I think, started with folders. This is awesome. This is very, very good. I don't really know what else to say about it. It's fantastic. I didn't actually see this happen yet, so I don't know if you still get the same type of tile flipping that you do with, like, say, for example, email. You can have several email accounts in a folder on Windows 10 Mobile, and you would be able to see the previews, albeit somewhat small, depending on how you set it up. you'll be able to see the previews for the individual different accounts you've put in, inside the folder. And I, at this point, do not know if that is exactly how it's working on big Windows, but that would be the idea.
I am not sure myself, as this build 15,002, it has been a bit of a mess. One of the things that it changes, aside from all the stuff we've mentioned already, is that I don't know if we mentioned this on the podcast or not, but it changes the blue screen of death to a green screen of death for insiders only. And this is just so they can differentiate when looking at reports on, say, Twitter, where someone says, hey, my PC crashed, and they go, okay, is this production or is it insider? And that easily lets them tell.
I should mention that they do have that telemetry. If it's coming back directly to them, automated style, they don't need to know the color of the screen, but it's kind of a red
for
flag.
Microsoft tech. You have to think about Microsoft's tech support teams on Twitter, though, because they have them constantly crawling. If you do so much as say that Notepad has crashed and now my desktop is broken or something. Mm-hmm. If you do so much as say just that, then they'll be there in an instant. Snap, snap. Excuse me.
So now,
it helps. It helps. I think it will help their support teams more than anybody else.
I agree
those support
with that,
teams aren't necessarily looking at telemetry and trying to fix things. They're trying to go, okay, here's how we can help you with your computer. Just opt out of the Insider program and you might be better.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I would also say that I wouldn't normally take a picture of my GSOD. I would usually screenshot whatever issue I'm having at the time. And so maybe I'm in the minority, but it seems to me that can you take a screenshot of your blue screen of death? I would imagine that it's actually not functional at that point. So I don't know how that's necessarily helping unless people are literally taking a picture.
Well, of course, you do know the hip new thing is that as soon as your laptop blue screens, you got to take a selfie with it, of course.
I am too old for the hip new thing.
Thankfully, I'm joking with that one.
I'm thankful that you thankfully are joking. Yes.
All right, but yeah, the green screen of death is new, and thing is, a lot of people were seeing it with 15,002. In fact, it seems to be there were some serious memory issues with this build, because literally everyone I know who installed it had some crazy issues, so I had to just stay back for a while, which, honestly, stuff like that is the reason I stay unstable, because I just have too much to lose at the moment. But, yeah. Mm-hmm. So, some of the other stuff is that the new Share UI, which, that was discovered, it was maybe November when that was first found, I think, and it was a prototype then. And not too different now, except for the fact that it supports light and dark themes. And, yeah, it's Share, except for the fact that now it looks like an actual Windows 10 design as opposed to Windows 8. Although, interestingly enough, whereas all the other Windows 8 designs, what changed about them throughout the days is that they became like the Action Center. You'd see a bar fly in from the side with all the options, and it would be kind of glass-looking. Not with this. This one actually opens up in the center of your screen in its own little window. So I do wonder if that's a sign of anything to come. It certainly interests me.
It kind of drifts away from the charms of several years ago.
I miss the charms. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. So one thing I do not miss, how do I say this? I continue to like Cortana, and Cortana continues to get better. And now, when searching when you're searching for an app with Cortana, you have a list of app-specific commands that pop up. This is awesome. This is really encouraging people. It's two things. If people that want to use Cortana, with an app, it gives them the option and shows them all the things that they may be missing out on, and also reminds those people. Two things. People that already know about it, it reminds them about it, but also introduces some people to, oh, wow, Cortana can do this as, in addition to, oh, hey, what's the weather or whatever. So, uh, I
Yeah,
don't know how to
something
complain
there.
about this. This is
Yeah,
great.
nothing. Yeah, there is nothing to complain about there. Something that I do like about that is that it kind of continues what I remember when they first announced Cortana, and they said that, well, one of the big selling points is that Cortana works with or without with speaking. You can just click, you can just type, or rather, since it was a Windows Phone 8.1 reveal, they said you can just tap this little bar, start typing away, and it'll be exactly the same as if you were speaking to your phone. And this just kind of adds a little more parity for speaking users and non-speaking users.
And I still cannot stand. I cringe when there's someone like in a meeting and they're like, "Hey Siri, text my wife" or something. Like, okay, come on, you have thumbs, right? And anyway, it's nice to have the option to do either or with Cortana.
Yeah. And that's actually one of the things that I found very lacking with other digital assistants personally, because I really do not talk to my phone much unless I'm talking to someone else. I don't really feel like going out into a crowd and saying, "Hey, phone, go do this," because it's going to get lost in all that noise for me a lot of times, or other times I don't want to interrupt somebody, etc., etc. And so that's always been something that just made me really like Cortana a bit more than the others out there.
I use it when I just don't, basically for safety, when I know that I cannot take the time to use both hands, or one hand for that matter, to type when I really need to, focus on what I'm doing, then I just use voice to text or, Cortana. Wow. What
Yeah.
am I saying without text? Just the voice.
Mm-hmm. And so, one more thing here is that there's a new screenshot shortcut. Boy, try saying that 5 times fast. And that's Control Shift S, which lets you capture a region of your desktop and paste it into any app you like from the clipboard. That is good. Not sure I like the fact it's a 3-step shortcut. I mean, personally, for the shortcuts I used very fast, I'd like to have just a 2-step one, maybe a Windows key plus something shortcut. But hey, I mean, that works too since they're close enough together.
It's still one-handed though.
Yeah. So, I mean, not a big deal in the end there. But yeah, this is something I've wanted for a while. I suppose you can always open up Snipping Tool, but I have not been the biggest fan of that.
Unfortunately, I
100%
still
honest.
use Snipping Tool. Like on the Surface, I definitely use inking, and that works so much better. But even on Windows 10 for my desktop, I use Snipping Tool. I don't know if I'm just stuck in the past, but on my work computer, I'm literally stuck in the past with Windows 7, and that is the option I have, Snipping Tool. So, ugh, yeah.
One of the things I liked about an operating system I tried out that was called Remix OS was that when you pressed print screen, it would open up all these options. Like you could select Windows in that screenshot. You could select any area you wanted, but you could have it snap to Windows or just be freeform selection of anything you want to only get what you wanted in the screenshot. That was something I still really want that built into default print screen in Windows, because it is just the easiest thing in the world. You might think at first, well, won't that slow something down? Not necessarily, and it is so good in action. And so, yeah, anything closer and closer to that is what I will be happy to see. So I'm happy to see this. Nothing to complain about, I guess.
Nice. There are improvements to window resizing and the desktop icon placement and scaling. I don't know specifics on that, but improvements.
I do know some of the specifics here. When it comes to scaling, at least, you can now go into an app's properties and start selecting different scaling options for it. So you can select, I believe, you can choose from like 3 different scaling options, and whichever one works the best, you feel free to stick with and go with. And that's really nice. I've seen that some apps from even just the Windows 7 days that were completely unusable on a Surface Book or Surface Pro 4, etc., they now work perfectly fine and scale so well with this update. And it's just revolutionary. Not a 100% chance of success with every app, but still far better than what there was before.
Nice. Couple more one-liners here. You can now connect to a VPN right from the network flyout. That is important. And of course, there is improved sign-in dialogues. Everyone wants a little bit better dialogue with. Yeah, I don't know. It's funny how some of those things just get clunky, and it's good that they work on them, making them more personable, I suppose, in some cases.
It's always good to streamline stuff.
Yep.
Well, maybe not always, but you get what I mean.
Yeah.
And then now there's a new out-of-box experience, which is powered by Cortana, thus not only introducing people to Cortana for the first time, but also helping out with accessibility, I believe. Excuse me. But it should help out some with accessibility, as far as I can tell, you can now have it read to you, or you can use some voice commands. Although I have not tried it out yet myself, because again, really not feeling putting some of this on my machine after all the crap I've dealt with lately. And do you want to talk about blue light, or will I?
Well, I think we've talked about it a bit. Blue light reduction basically is a new tech that Microsoft is working on, which is going to simply make it better for your eyes at night. We don't want people staring at screens for hours on end, or even if they're not for hours on end, they can't necessarily be good for your eyes. And so taking out putting a filter on it to some extent. And
well, it's not exactly a filter. It's that it reduces the amount of blue light reduction, and that will turn your whites to oranges. And that sounds like a laundry tip or something there, but
it does actually sound like a filter too, Andy. Yeah. But
true.
But basically changing the tint on it so that it's not messing with you that much, and hopefully it helps you sleep better at night. I don't know if that's exactly the case.
And this is already available for years in a program called Flux, but now it's being built into Windows, which really cannot complain about. I know that this is also available on stuff like the Google Play, whatever they call it, Google Play Books or whatever, and Google Play Newsstand is available there as an option, and it changes based on the time of day. And that was the first time I used it, and it was just revolutionary for me, at least, because all of a sudden I could read on my phone without it just killing my eyes or being unreadable if I had to turn the brightness down too much.
Dark theme. All the time.
That too.
Yeah.
And if I am correct, you can also schedule blue light reduction in Windows 10, so that's fantastic, really, because I get to go, okay, if it's 2 a.m., I definitely do not want to see too much white on my screen. So, yeah, it's handy. Nothing to complain about there once again.
Another set of improvements, improving the settings app, of course, that's constantly improving. And more specifically, the devices page is getting worked on. Also, you can set up the surface dial settings per app, meaning that your different apps can have different settings in the surface dial, which is pretty cool. I am not using a surface dial, but I think I am tempted. I think that would be pretty cool to, I don't know, maybe we'll see someday.
Yeah.
And of course, Windows Themes integration is now in the settings app. That is, I guess I don't recall if it was there before.
It was not. It was still available only through the control panel styled window.
That's right.
And they're now working on bringing more and more of those together. And boy, it's been easy to put that in changelog. More than, not exactly easy, I mean, but that's been written in changelogs for like the past 2 years. We're bringing PC settings and control panel closer together, and closer together, and closer together. And yeah, it's something that I know it takes time to do, but oof, you just think, oh my goodness, we've been saying this for the past 2 years.
Yeah,
I'm glad they're not rushing it, at least.
Yeah, and along with progressing forward, like Andy mentioned, blue screen of death is now green screen of death, and for insiders, that just happens to be in our rundown. We already talked about that, but that is.
Oh yeah, I guess I kind of moved that one up ahead a bit.
No problem. Yeah.
there's now Windows Ink enhancements, including an updated Windows Ink pen, pencil, and highlighter control to now visually indicate what color has been selected, as well as a new point erase feature. That's pretty cool.
This is nice to see. It was a little bit, not even quite clunky. It was just noticeable that you didn't quite know what color you had. But I mean, it's nice to see this improvement. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I don't really care about, the accessibility features have been improved, such as narrator, high contrast mode, which I do kind of like high contrast mode, but
I'm glad that narrator is getting some improvements at least, because it is really an important thing to have for some people, and I think that it's been kind of lacking for the past more than the last couple of years. It is drastically needed some improvements. I mean, it's not like it was unusable or anything, but it could have been done so much better, I believe. So any improvements to that are welcome, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Windows Defender app. It's interesting how this progression, this saga of the Windows Defender has been growing and growing and is now into an app and is expanding into other things. It isn't just your anti-malware and things like that. It's more stuff is going into that, and that's kind of cool. Yeah,
now
we'll
it's possible
cover that later. In
well,
another
for this
episode.
one at least, I mean, it's something real quick, I guess, that the new UWP app for the Creators Update, they said that initially that they'd be adding more functionality to it, and now it's arriving. Is you can now run quick, advanced, or full scans in the app, and there's some other minor improvements tossed in there. And this one's pretty big, so I think we'll both cover this one here, that there's now improvements to Windows Update, including that you can pause updates for up to 35 days on pretty much any edition except Home at the moment.
Yeah, which is huge news with a huge clause at the end, because most people are running Home. I mean, like that's we can make that assumption.
Additionally, most people who care about this are most likely not running Home. There's many who are, but for the majority of people I know who care about this type of stuff are already running Professional. And this is another thing that really differentiates Professional from Home, which I think is something that's kind of been needed to be done for a while. Because, even really back to the Windows 7 days, I look at, say, Home Premium and Professional. Well, what are most of the differences? On the surface, there's not much. Underneath, there's far more. I mean, there's stuff like Hyper-V, BitLocker, etc. But just a little more of a difference would be nice sometimes, I think. Because Microsoft's big deal with why they wanted to have every single update go through and not have an off switch was that they didn't want the old grandmas in the world to go, oh my goodness, Windows Update, the pop-up's annoying, I'm going to shut it off. Then their computer gets a virus and they go, I can't believe these Microsoft computers get viruses, I'm buying an Apple product.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, there's two sides to it. On one hand, the user definitely should have more control of their machine, but I do get where they were coming from there. I do believe that I would like to see some of this expanded to Home in the future, but I totally get where they're coming from. And I additionally do think that part of it might just be that they want to have people to have a reason to buy Professional.
And that's fair. I am okay with that reason, but I think that it's funny. Many of the people that would want this to be able to delay it really are the ones that should not be delaying it. The people that are aware of this will be the ones that should kind of be testing it, I would say, because your novice user, first out of the box, just whatever, they don't want to, unless it's just something set up as default that, okay, get every update 35 days later than before. If that was default, that was just the standard setting, well, I can understand that, but then everyone would go with it, and in that case, all these updates are a month behind, and they're really not necessarily even.
Well, it is that
like another ring of testing.
It doesn't delay critical updates as well, and also one thing I do think it is kind of interesting there. It's not a total off switch; it's a delay switch, and what that means is that You see all those headlines about Microsoft botching updates. Well, congratulations, there's our fix to that. Which, I mean, kind of think that the best solution there would be better quality control, but what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can also prevent Windows Update from downloading driver updates, which that is just absolutely perfect. Should have been in there from day one. For real. It might not seem like a big thing to some people, but once you get into some more PC gaming stuff, instantly you start to see lots of broken drivers at times, depending on who you buy your cards from, or, you see issues with compatibility with some drivers, and it's often a mess, and you often want to have full control of your drivers and handle them on your own. There's just so many different variables there that it's a story for another day, I guess. But yeah, that's Build 15,002's new features in a nutshell.
The brand new build, which is already old.
Yep. It's the new old thing, which is also that's also the name of a blog by, I believe it was Raymond Chen, who puts in some very good content there. I haven't checked it for a while, but I probably should. All right, and now we move on to the second part of our saga, tonight's Build 15,007, which has another nice changelog.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. Now we get started here with sharing your tabs. And this takes it on another step to the tabs aside feature, where it says, we've added the ability to share a set of tabs you've set aside. Just click the tabs you set aside button, and under the three dots menu, select the option to share tabs with many apps installed on your PC.
So you couldn't directly just send it to another person. It has to go through an app. Well, I suppose it's not sharing to an app. You could be sharing through an app, is what it's saying.
Yeah, I'm trying to fully understand this myself. When I first read the title, sharing your tabs, I think, all right, that Internet Explorer 11 feature where if you had multiple PCs up and you had them running, you could go, okay, here's my tabs on these other devices, and you could go to them.
Which I really, really did enjoy, and it worked very well with mobile, and I would love to see that work better again. Actually, I can't think of it working for me lately. That sucks.
Let me see, though.
Anyway, yeah.
Looking deeper into this, let me just take a quick look, because I want to clarify. Boy, they are not really saying that much. I guess I'll have to see it in action.
The way I'm reading this, and we should get some feedback on this, folks. If you're doing this, let us know and guide us off of our wayward path into the light. The tabs you've set aside, under tabs you've set aside button, there's an ellipses menu, and from there you can share a set of tabs to the apps installed, I would say through the apps installed on your PC. This is how I'm understanding it, reading through here. So you could, just like the share button, go to email, for example, or mail, and share that with, like, I can see using this all the time. My wife would use it even more so.
Yeah. The more I read this, the more it seems as if, all right, you're able to share the URL with an app, the same as you would if you were in the news app and you said, all right, let's share to email, and it would give you that MSN link.
Now, I'm not saying that clicking on a URL and hitting copy and then sharing with someone is difficult, but this certainly makes it simpler. Incredibly.
Yeah, because you instantly have the jump to an app.
It's right there, and I can see how, quite literally, between my wife and I, we would do this quite a bit, especially Craigslist. Hey, do you want that new desk? Because she's going to, or whatever. She's crazy this way. Awesomely crazy. And whatever. I can see this being very useful.
Yeah, and speaking of useful stuff involving sharing data, technically, you can now import your data from another browser easier to Microsoft Edge, apparently. Because there's been an import function for a while, but I have really only gotten it to work
I've
with
never
IE.
Never gotten it to work.
And it says, we're now making it even easier to bring your data over from another browser when you switch to Microsoft Edge. The new import from another browser button in settings allows you to bring your favorites, browsing history, saved passwords, and other data from another browser you have installed in one simple step. Interestingly enough, this isn't really much new. to me at least.
It's basically saying the same thing, and if
maybe it actually works this time.
Yeah, I'm saying there's a chance it might work this time, but maybe not. Yeah. The next one I love, running faster. So obviously everyone, when they get in a foot race with a, I don't know, bear or something, they want to run faster. Well, this is basically just, you hit a run on a download link, it has to save it. Well, how am I saying this here? You have to hit run, and then there's a save as that's the next step or something. I'm trying to explain.
Well, I mean, first you choose, all right, where do we save this? Then it would say, all right, it's downloaded, feel free to run it.
Yeah.
And this new set of options is pretty similar to Internet Explorer again, where it says you can now choose to run a download link without first saving it, and we've added a save as option next to the existing save link. So that's nice. Pretty similar to how IE worked again there, because that was something I honestly always really liked about it, where it was if you went to download a executable file, you could just go, all right, let's run. I'm not going to use this Adobe Flash installer again in my life. Mm-hmm. Just run it and we'll be done.
Yeah. Again, we're catching up with the past again,
Which, not always a bad thing, because people seem to forget quite often about the few but really significant at times, few but significant good things about Internet Explorer. Mm-hmm. As much as I dislike the browser, it had some really, really cool ideas that just got lost in the mess.
Agreed.
Then there's now improvements to web notes in this build, and it says we've updated web notes to now leverage the familiar Windows Ink experience you've come to know in Photos and Maps, amongst other places. Tap the pen or highlighter in web notes, and you will now see the full set of Windows Ink colors, as well as the new slider released for Windows Ink with build 14986. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Text scaling and zoom. Microsoft is telling us that
and this is a mobile feature.
Yeah,
it should be. I guess it should be worth noting, really, that this is a PC and mobile build, and this is actually the first mobile build that's arrived in over a month.
Mm-hmm. It's been a little bit. Microsoft is telling us that based on your feedback in Microsoft Edge, you can now zoom into a web page regardless of zoom settings defined by the website, matching other mobile browsers. Yay, catching up again. Pages are now zoomable to at least 500%. Because of this, we no longer automatically scale text in Microsoft Edge when you've enabled the ease of access option to increase the text size, since you can zoom in on the text to reach a size that matches your own comfort level. This addresses feedback that ease of access zoom settings made web pages render incorrectly. I still get the feeling that there's going to be incorrect rendering by not automatically zooming. How do I say this? The rendering. We'll see. Maybe I'm reading that incorrectly.
Now it says also that clicking links to websites that support web-to-app linking will now open that page in the respective app.
So, like it's supposed to. Okay.
Yep. The coming soon feature is being able to download themes from the Windows Store. And in the last build, they introduced theme options in settings, and now the continuation of that is going to the Windows Store to download some themes. This isn't working yet, though, and you'll see a store icon that does nothing at the bottom of the themes page. Excuse me. It says you can go to the store page for themes here, and they've got a link where you can try out downloading themes from the store. That's interesting.
All right. Do we want to dig through everything that's broken?
Well, I mean, there's still some more stuff here, like Cortana can now help you pick up where you left off, where it says if you have multiple PCs, you probably know how cumbersome it can be to find everything you need to resume work after switching between them. When you switch computers, Cortana will display quick lines in the Action Center to help you get back into Microsoft Edge, websites, and SharePoint, or other cloud-based documents that you used most recently. That's cool. And it says if you were working on a PowerPoint deck in your laptop, when you later return to your desktop, a link to that deck appears in Action Center. That's good. I cannot complain about any of that.
Mm-hmm. This inline progress bar for notifications, that's kind of interesting. It's something
Yeah.
that has been
Windows
around for a
10's
bit now in other, especially mobile operating systems. But having that there, kind of a toast notification, just showing how far, the progress, how things are progressing in what you're doing, download or whatever. So that's something.
Yeah. And it'll just be another element to actionable notifications where now you get to see a little progress bar in there. And the example they show here is in the store with, for some reason, some poor soul is downloading Candy Crush Saga, and it's at 29%. Hopefully it won't move past 30.
Hopefully it regresses, uninstalls.
Yeah, that's what I want. That's one feature I want. I want Windows Defender to have Candy Crush Saga protection. That's what I need in life. I need a nice little feature where it goes, all right, Candy Crush is trying to get here. Let's just shove it out the door, pretend it never arrived. That would be handy. Okay, it says in a future build you'll see this capability with Windows Store download. So not there yet. They're just showing it to say this is how it can be used by developers, so developers can come on in and take a look at this. Additionally, something that developers might be interested in, there's now scroll bar improvements for UWP on both PC and mobile. And this is a very interesting development here, as I know this is something that is intended to be a part of Project Neon, with very fancy animated scroll bars where when you first scroll around, these XAML scroll bars are very, very small lines. Very similar to what you'd see on a touch display when you're scrolling around, except now that's even that way with a mouse. But if you move your mouse cursor over to that little scroll bar, it will expand into the full desktop scroll bar that you've come to know and love. And it takes up less space, and it says they cause less undesirable flashing when you don't need it. With these changes, the panning indicator now appears when you move a mouse over a scrolling region, and the full scroll bar appears when you want to directly interact with it. This improvement will be visible in any app that uses the Windows 10 Creators Update SDK. That is cool. I really do like the design. They've got a GIF here of it. Looks very smooth, very nice. I approve.
Well, I like Windows Hello. I approve of it. It is not awesome yet, but there are some improvements on it so far in this build. And especially as you enroll, as you get set up in it, it's some improvements, how you're going to kind of discover it and how you set it up, especially the facial recognition, of course. Kind of a visual guidance that tracks your face real time. It shows the progress. And yeah, you should do it if you're not already trying that, using it.
Yeah, that's kind of nice, I guess. I've yet to try Windows Hello because I have yet to have a camera capable of trying it out. In fact, I don't even have any webcam at the moment, but for those of you that do have one, that'll be very nice for you. There's some other stuff like Bluetooth APIs, emojis, keyboard navigation improvements, etc. But really, there's nothing else that's too big. There's also some dedicated mobile changes like improvements for Azure Active Directory, the ability to reset an app back. Oh wait, it says
it's under mobile.
Yeah. App reset mobile. One of the features.
I like that feature.
App reset is a feature that's been available with PC since the anniversary update, which lets you reset an app back to its original state. And now that's coming to mobile. That's cool. You can just clear out the app's cache and reset the app as if it had just been installed without actually having to reinstall it. You can also use Cortana to control music playback on more of your favorite music apps. However, this is currently only available for EN/US users, sadly. Hopefully it'll come out to more later. We've enabled natural language compatibility for iHeartRadio and TuneIn Radio, so you can now control playback and volume. You can also say, "Hey Cortana, what's playing?" and it will work for all the apps playing music. This appeared for insiders on PCs with build 14986. There's now
that was one of the largest frustrations I had with Cortana. If you're playing something with your music, obviously, and then you go to Cortana, it basically shuts off the music, and the whole point was to hear what music was playing, and I'm glad they fixed it. Speaking of Cortana, there's more recurrence options for Cortana reminders, And that is pretty nice, every month, every year, whatever. Great for anniversaries. Hint, hint, everyone. So don't, or just, getting your mother a birthday gift or whatever it is. That's an important one.
Yeah. Then the Web Payments API, which came into, the Web Payments API apparently showed up for insiders on PCs with build 15,002. Also, improved legibility for UWP apps with high contrast, another desktop feature that came on over. Improved settings, updated device settings, pause updates, and etc., etc., etc. There's a big list of changes and known issues there, but that generally covers it all.
Yeah.
Lots of nice changes.
A good 72.5% of our podcast has been these two build updates.
But well, they're big builds. I mean,
awesome.
It's the start of the year.
It is a great start to the year. I'm excited to dig a little bit deeper into these, and I know many people are. Like I said at the beginning, it's a great way to kick off the year, kind of reinvigorate, shot in the arm, or a vitamin B12 shot, or whatever you want to call it. This is you. This is the chance to dig back into it.
Yeah. And now we go into lightning round for our next bits, which I'll cover this one. It's at Windows 10's game mode, which was leaked in some files before. It's now showing up in this latest Insider Preview release in the Game DVR panel, where you can go to that from hitting the Windows key and G to get to Game DVR. Head over to the settings where you'll see a game mode option. At the moment, you'll be able to manually enable it, but it's not. We don't even know if it's working at the moment. It's got some placeholder text. It wasn't mentioned in any notes, and if it is working, what I would expect it to do is that it seems to just improve raise the priority of games when they run, and we don't know if that is working yet. So yeah,
like the turbo button on a laptop.
Yeah. In addition to game mode, there's also a new icon for game broadcasting, which will be integrated with Beam, but it's currently disabled. Hopefully that comes in the next build, because that will be awesome. And then
that would be cool.
Next thing on our list, we talked about Project Neon last week, and now there's Opera Neon, something which is nowhere near as cool and is honestly pretty loony.
Well, I think we talked about Neon last week. It's a great idea, great concept, great UI. It's the future. We'll go with it. And of course, it was nice to our site had the exclusive on that. And I'm excited to see where this goes. But what Andrew mentioned is that Opera, obviously the browser, has this concept called Opera Neon. And I do see maybe where they're pulling hints from this, from what Microsoft...
Well, I don't think they're pulling any hints from Microsoft with it. I think the announcement's just too close.
Yeah.
I think, but this is basically like a concept car for web browsers, and that it shows that that's kind of a neat idea, but also kind of a lame idea at the same time. Because what I've found really is that if you make an app that looks just like a crazy mock-up, you'll find out that you have a really, really sad user experience at times. And this is one of those times. And it's just this off-the-walls, completely new design where it throws all the conventional web browser ideas out and goes for something that's very... It's really just a living mock-up. You've got your tabs on the right-hand side in little circles. You've got tab snapping, which is a cool idea. I will admit that. And just all sorts of little details. Well, we're in lightning mode, so I can't go over them all, but this is an actual downloadable web browser, which I will say, kudos to that. It's a living mock-up and not just a mock-up. I am giving them complete and total points for that.
I did not think it is cheesy. I think this concept is brilliant to be moving forward and to be really thinking outside the box with it. Yeah, some of it might just be a little bit of rehash, but we've been browsing the same way for so long. I want something new, and I really do.
I could argue that we're browsing the same way because there is a way that things work and there is a way that things do not work.
Okay.
In this case, I think that on the inside, on some issues, I am older than you are. And I think it's starting to show with this one.
Get off my lawn. I don't know. I'm looking. It's nice to see something refreshing and a little bit
Fair enough.
surprising.
Yeah.
I don't mind being surprised sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm angrily saying, I can't believe you're making that design with those round tabs.
Yeah.
Get that out of here.
Yeah.
Not really that. It's more of I cannot see myself using this in any kind of professional setting. I can only see it being some bubbly little fun design where you'll have people go, oh my goodness, it looks so cute. And then they'll go and look, oh, look, it's a little circle. And then they'll just open up one website and never use 2 tabs at once. That's just how I see it, personally.
I think your vision is, I don't know. I don't align with it.
I don't know. I see fun designs, I see practical designs, and this leans too far to one side of the spectrum. You got to have a balance at times, or you can just go all practicality, which is kind of boring, but it really gets the job done.
Mm-hmm.
And then, also speaking of designs, Telegram's Windows app reaches 1.0, and it's now got theming functionality, although I have yet to figure out how to fully work that aside from downloading other people's themes. Telegram is a chat app with apps for basically every platform out there. Windows is no exception. Excuse me. It's a great little app, and I like it quite a bit for having group chats with friends, and the new design is, for the most part, pretty good. It takes a lot of cues from Google, of all people, but you can skin it around to change all the colors to your liking. The only real downside to it, I think, is that the title bar is now, it's like almost nothing, which is just like, why wouldn't you use the default Windows title bar? Just please, give me a break. But yeah. And
Slack, many people have been using Slack for quite a while. It's kind of become a staple or a go-to as far as collaboration and coordinating within your smaller group or a bigger group, actually. And now finally the desktop app is available to get through the Windows Store. It's funny, the desktop app felt so much like a regular app. It's just that it was downloadable. It was installed instead of downloaded, if you think of it that way. And now it's finally available through the store.
Yep, and it's a Project Centennial app, which really just goes to show Project Centennial was one of the best ideas Microsoft has had in a while, and I think that it's really great to see developers get their apps in the store there.
Mm-hmm. Finally, some Windows Mobile news aside from insider builds. We have a new device. Wait, not a new device. An old device with a new price. Even that isn't that awesome. The Lumia 435, the 435 is available at Walmart for $30 right now. And it's a good price. It's not a good phone, but if you need a coaster, I shouldn't say that.
I mean, to be honest, I actually got my little brother a Lumia 435 a couple months back in Walmart. They had it in clearance for $13, and it's honestly probably the best $13 I have ever spent. Because for the price, you are getting a shockingly solid phone. Yes, it ships with Windows 8.1, but it still can't upgrade to Windows 10 Mobile. We haven't tried that on our devices. We're just staying with something that's... It might not be the latest features, but we know it runs very well on the device. It's all my little brother needs. He doesn't need to adjust anything too different there. He's got everything he needs in that. A nice little stable, secure device. And it's like, Windows Phone 8.1 is just that little workhorse that keeps on going, in my opinion. Might not have all the biggest, latest apps. It doesn't have all the great features of Windows 10 Mobile. But you can just leave it on that and have a nice, stable experience without really any hiccups at all.
And it is unlocked, so there might be a kind of a pay-as-you-go or... there's different options, obviously, and if you need something to throw in the glove box just in case your regular phone dies or whatever, this is certainly an option, and for $30 can't go wrong.
Yeah, you really can't. I mean, for $30 you could get, I don't really know if there's any even Android phones for $30.
I can't feed my family for $30. I mean, the one meal really. So why don't you? Yeah, I'll just go without feeding my family for one meal and then buy this phone.
That works.
Yeah,
That's the best solution. All right, and then for stuff that isn't really too great, Scalebound, a highly anticipated game made by Platinum Games and published by Microsoft Studios for both Windows 10 and the Xbox One, has been canceled after probably about 4 years of development, although the game went through various pitches and iterations long before that. Yeah, this is a sad one, although not too surprising because we have not heard much about Scalebound at all. We've seen some gameplay footage at E3 2016. But everything has been sparse. You'd see some information, then you'd see nothing, then you'd see some information, then nothing, and then one final big bout of nothing. And, oh man, Microsoft seems to be really hiding a lot of stuff about this. Like, as soon as the cancellation was announced, they started privatizing the trailers on YouTube, which is a shame in my opinion, as they just showed something fantastic of what it could have been. But there are reasons behind its cancellation. When it comes to stuff that seem to be pretty accurate, I've heard this from multiple sources and seen it confirmed by sources to other places like Eurogamer. Apparently, the game did not run very well on the Xbox One. The team had issues getting it optimized, and you can even see that in some of the E3 gameplay, where you'll see some performance drops with it occasionally. And that has apparently been a consistent issue throughout its entire development, and they just have not been able to get it running smoothly, and I would assume that played a huge part in it. As for unconfirmed rumors, I've been hearing reports and seeing some other people hear reports of creative differences between Microsoft and Platinum, which really didn't help the relationship between the two companies, and it just all came tumbling down. So yeah, it doesn't really end up well for anyone in the end here, I don't think, as I was looking forward to this a lot. I know a lot of people who were, and it's really sad to hear about a team working on a project for years and have that just get canceled. And that's sad to me, but there's reasons behind it, even if I'm kind of angry at them. But yes. And finally, before we do the App of the Week and outro, THQ Nordic, which is a company, Nordic Games, bought the THQ license, combined their names, and now here we are. They will release physical copies of the Windows 10 version of Halo Wars 2, which is the first time a physical copy has been released of a Windows 10 store game, and it comes on 4 DVDs. It also comes with a card. You need to activate it, and this card is a Windows 10 store code, which just functions as if you bought it on the Windows Store. And because of that, Xbox Play Anywhere is still functional, so... And this is a case where, like, when they announced Xbox Play Anywhere, they said, well, you have to buy digital to get both copies. Well, now, if you buy a physical copy of this one, you get it on both the Xbox One and Windows 10. But keep in mind, it's not like you can just lend this one to your friend so they can borrow it. That is it's a one-time activation for your Microsoft account. It's just that this DVD will help you save some bandwidth when installing. So, yeah.
Well, I guess there's value with that. I see that.
Plus the box for it's really nice looking. So, honestly, kind of tempting to pick that up for me. Even if I know this computer can't run it, it'd still have the Xbox version. But yeah.
Well, tell us about the App of the Week, and then we'll finish up.
All right.
I'm not familiar with
the App of the Week,
one.
and this is the second time that we've had an App of the Week with an article written in the past week about it, which kudos for that, folks. This is Splash, a Unsplash client for Windows 10. And Unsplash is a site with a bunch of royalty-free images. And Splash primarily functions to help you find those images, download them, and get started using them as a wallpaper. It is a really beautiful app, and it kind of mixes a bit of areas where you'd see some influence from Google's material design with Microsoft's own MDL2 design. And it just looks great. It looks nothing like any other Windows 10 app I've ever seen. Really, it's totally its own thing, and all for the better. It's a stunning-looking app with some stunning-looking photos, and it's just fun to browse through that and find some nice ones to download and save that in your wallpaper folder.
All right. Well, we went through this entire episode without talking about CES, except now I did mention CES. But we're done anyway,
Oh, no.
So it doesn't matter. Thank you for listening, everyone. We do appreciate it. Of course, you should follow the site on Twitter at MSPowerUser. Obviously, go to the site, mspoweruser.com. Andy has plenty of articles he's thrown up. We have some great posters. All your regulars are there, providing pretty good content. I am not there because I only podcast and I have a house to remodel. But you can follow each of us on Twitter. I'm on Twitter at VernonEL. Andy's on Twitter at FusionFan45. And make sure you subscribe to the show. We do appreciate it.
I will say about Twitter, though, I'm on a little Twittercation. That works. So now I'm tweeting as much or possibly less than Vernon does. And I'm gonna see how long I can keep that up.
You're not really enticing them to follow you very well, Andy, but that's okay.
my advertising skills are top-notch, I'm sure.
Well, either way, continue to listen to us if you want to. We will be back next week. We hope you have a wonderful week, everyone. Take care.